everybody.
Hello, hello.
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 YFI Pod. Today, we're going to talk about the most recent retreat that we've run. I'll say we. I was there. You guys did most of the work. To the UK. What was it called? Myth and Magic and Mantra?
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, we were there for about 10 days or so in England primarily. Yeah, so you guys, where do you guys want to start? Like, do you want to start, like, what was the intention, or like what made England the top choice for a retreat like this?
I mean, this retreat has been like years and years and years in the making because I had a dream about being in Merlin's cave and like chanting in a circle with a group of people. And we were all kind of like bundled up and it was kind of dark and cold in there. And I was like, oh my God, like obviously we need to bring a group of people to Merlin's cave. And then, just all of the magical elements of, the ley lines in the UK. So like starting to look at like what it would be to bring a group there. And this was really before Jessica, before you were working at Yoga Farm. And then
Oh wow, really?
I remember where we were when I was like, okay, so I have this idea and we need to go do Glastonbury and we need to go to the Stones and we need to go to Stonehenge and it needs to be on like one of the holidays, preferably the equinoxes, mostly because they're not as busy. And we need to bring our folks there. And I mean, there's no way that this trip could have happened prior to just being on board at Yoga Farm. And then, yeah, like once we started really planning, it was still like 2 years out, right? Like a year and a half out before we.
I think it was probably on yours and mine and Matt's trip to Ireland, right? That would make sense.
Oh wow.
Like on that trip, you were like, so, and then I was like, okay, let's do it.
That was March of 23.
Yeah.
I think when we did that trip. Wow.
Yeah, because
Well, I mean,
I started booking things so early that one of the transport buses came to the retreat center last year to pick us up when we weren't there.
I know that's how forward thinking you guys were. I remember when I was at the studio when you guys Jessica got the call. We're like, why am I getting a call from England in September of 24? And they're like, we're here to pick you up. I'm like, well, you're a whole year early. And they're like, we are. Sorry.
4 days early.
Yep. Jessica, what happened in that moment? Were you like, oh my gosh, where's my date book? Let me look at the reservation. Or you just knew?
Mean, I think, like I am human, I am fallible. I think I had that very brief moment where I was like, did I tell them? And then I was like, I definitely didn't tell them. It went, of course, to my emails. I was like, no, that was on them. That was on them.
Nice.
Yeah. And for me, I just want to add, like, we've been doing a bunch of retreats kind of in the same global area for a while. And so I was really excited to kind of break into the European retreat scene. So that was a big push for me to just like see how that felt to travel to that continent with a group of students. So,
yeah, right. Because they're mostly Central America with like Guatemala, Panama, Costa Rica, also a big one.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess when I first remember you planning it, I had that double take where it was like, England and the yoga retreat. You don't really see the climate of England in the fall as a yoga destination. So, but then like hearing it come together with like the mantra and the myth and magic, right? And then we tied in the Arthurian legends. It almost seemed like a no-brainer. It was like, well, of course, like this is where we could do these practices and bring these people to this part of the world. So made perfect sense once it was all laid out in front of me. It's like it wouldn't be any other way. It was very cool. Do we want to talk about the places we've seen or the places we went to, or any of the specific practices that were that we did, or workshops, things that were unique because we were in England?
Well, I just want to back up for a minute and I just want to say that I think that our students and our community had been waiting
Mm.
like for a trip like this. I just like as soon as the website launched, I just felt even more excitement with it. Because I think it's been a request for a little while too. I mean, we've explored where have we explored? All of the warm places, all the warm places. And this was like, oh, this is really rich. This retreat is going to be about, wisdom and embodiment of the land and the getting to learn the history. And I think that that aspect really like drew a pull in with our community. I mean, plus for us, like I've been wanting to see these things that we'll soon talk about, like I've been wanting to see them and experience them and feel them in my, ancestral lineage. And I think like that's just where we were at. And I mean, I couldn't ever see us like not doing another retreat that is embodied like this and with the land in that way. So yeah.
Yeah, and what you said, Matt, too, about like it's not what you really think of, right, as a yoga retreat, because you
Mhm.
think of like Bali and beaches and like that sort of thing. And it was tricky finding retreat centers. Like retreat centers
Mhm.
are a dime a dozen in Costa Rica, right? Like
Oh
you
yeah.
can throw a dart at a map, and like if you land in Costa Rica, there's probably a retreat center within 10 miles. But like
Mhm,
we
mhm.
didn't end up staying at a retreat center. We ended up staying at like a working farm, which was
Oh
so
yeah.
cool. So I just wanted to like throw that in, thinking about like the planning part of this and what a typical retreat might be in your mind versus like
Mhm.
what it can be.
Yeah, and
Yeah, how
all of
much
the
pit?
tables
Oh,
were redone, right? That's
What's that?
the history of the farm that you found and we went to visit and check out first. It's like every room that was there is from a stable, right?
Mhm.
it was
Yep.
it was redone. It was made into a retreat
Beautiful.
center.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful
And I
place.
mean, then we could go outside and we could go walk to see the pigs and walk to see the sheep and, the Highland cows. And so it brought in that whole nature aspect, living on a farm. And then, there was a pub across the street. It was just like completely magical. And like Jessica said, it's not necessarily like what we think about for a yoga retreat. But I mean, it falls into place with us. We're a little witchy and, you know, the way that, Jeannie had planned, and I'm sure you'll talk about that a little bit for the workshops. All of that really wove in together so beautifully.
Mhm.
yeah, and I think there was something pretty special about it being a farm, like
Mhm.
working the land, like you said. Like many of the places we've gone to before are retreat centers and built just to like bring people to do these practices. But there's something, I don't know, there's something super cool about knowing that this how like tied to the land and what the land produces, and we were there, and that creation that happens there. I
Mhm.
don't know, there was something pretty cool. And yeah, the pigs were super cute. They were fun to
So cute.
look at. Um, Honey, do you want to talk about any of the specific practices or anything that you guys did there that was unique because of the place and not something you would have done maybe in Central
Mhm.
America?
Well, I mean, this is one of the things that we do, right? Like, um, and when we go and visit places or start researching places and picking out what the venue is going to be like and what is happening in that area. Like, what is this part of the world known for? Or what is the ancient
Mhm.
history of this land? Like, that gets woven into workshops that we do, regardless of, when we were in Guatemala, we were in, Guatemala, Lake Atitlan is considered a healing vortex. So
Mhm.
it was all about like workshops that align with deeper healing, um, and recognizing that we were in this like triangle of volcanoes and in this potent water. And, so looking at the UK and the ley lines that are there, which are like the meridians of the earth, the ancient spirituality, druidic practices, being there on the equinox, like it all became this weaving into the goddesses that are present in the places that we were visiting and the goddesses that archetypally show up in those spaces. So there was a lot of invoking of that energy and kind of trying on that goddess energy, trying on, for better or worse, the Morrigan's energy and like, what does that bring up for you? And how do you navigate being influenced by calling in different types? So, I am a thematic teacher, which when I was still teaching in public school, for those of you that have not ever taught history or social studies, this is a pretty big debate in that silly corner of the world of
Lots of heavy feelings around this
so
topic.
many feelings. Do you teach things chronologically or do you teach things thematically? And truthfully, like I think there's an argument for either, and probably a little bit of both. But in this framework, like I really get to run with teaching thematically and getting really clear on like what is the intention that we're calling in this place? Why did we pick this place to begin with? Let's do the things that are going to utilize the energy that's already present in these spaces to amplify our connection and our experience. And so I love that part of curriculum planning. I love that part of retreat planning of like, how can this all weave together so that by the end of the trip, it feels like you've gone on a journey and you've gone on a journey that is unique for so many reasons. But that it moves something specifically within us, and then we get to move through that as a group, as a collective together and heal in that collective energy as well. But it's like there's a little part of me that's like, okay, even if someone that was on that retreat went to the UK and took another trip there by themselves next spring because they just fell in love with it, that experience is not replicable. Each retreat is its own entity and has its own energy that comes along with it. And so, connecting with the Morgan, connecting with Caradwyn, it's in the spaces of these giant, ancient stones, chanting in Merlin's cave, being at Stonehenge at sunrise. Like these are just all things that weave together to create this like fabric of an experience. So, I feel that way about all of the retreats that we do. And there was something very unique and special about this. There's always something for me that's unique and special about going to like heritage sites, UNESCO sites, ancient sites of historic relevance and energetic potency. Like these sites weren't just like, here's a good place for an altar. Like there's reasons. So yeah, it's really cool to be able to create experiences like that for folks.
Which is someone who was there and helping out with some logistics, just witnessing the people experience what you guys planned and ran it was palpable. It was so obvious that this had an effect and a real impact on, I think, everyone who was there. So, I mean, you nailed it, guys. Good job. So the first, so we want to talk about some of the actual sites we hit when we weren't, because some of the days we were on the farm and did some like typical retreat practices and workshops throughout the day, but we also had the opportunity to see some Pretty awesome. Like historical sites. Was Glastonbury the first one that we took a trip to?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Glastonbury was first. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What did you what
Yeah.
did you what did you think of Glastonbury? I want to hear what you guys thought.
It was really sweet because they were having like a little witches craft fair right outside of the Abbey that we went and visited. I mean, we can talk about the Abbey because that was a trip, and but yeah, it was just like the time. I love when it feels a little bit like there's a sprinkle of divine timing in things, and we were just really lucky on this trip with that. So the fact that like Glastonbury is always a witchy, wacky kind of little town, but then on top of that, they were having this like kind of special event fair thing that weekend. To me, was really sweet.
Mm.
Yeah, and they have a lot of sacred sites, so there was a lot of options there for the students to go and explore.
Oh yeah.
Which I love that ability that we were able to have. Go ahead. I think I'm overlapping. We had that ability in a space together, and then it's like, okay, now what would you like to go see, and what would you like to go do? And so everyone kind of maybe paired up or went off on their own and went to explore. And I mean, I know I had a fun time. I'm going to pause there because I think I'm freezing.
We could hear you. Yeah, we could hear you.
Yeah, we could hear you well. Yeah, I mean, it seems like the time to talk about how we all gathered in the ruins of this abbey near where allegedly King Arthur and Guinevere's bones are buried. Like there's a grave site there that has a marker. You know, whether we believe that that's actually there or not, there is a marker. And so we gathered in a circle to like do some chanting before everybody dispersed and got in trouble. And like, I'm standing there and I feel this like hand, because everyone's eyes are closed. We're holding hands. We're chanting together. And this guy taps on my shoulder and he's like, "There's no singing here." I was like, okay.
Okay.
There's no singing in the Abbey.
Well, also, didn't he went on and on about like it's on the website. We say this, and my first thought was like,
he just kept talking to me. I'm like, bro, do you want this to end, or do you want to keep talking to me? Because I can wrap this up real quick if you'd stop talking at me.
Well, and we're all standing in a circle, like looking at him, talking to you, like whispering in your ear. We're all like, "What's happening right now?" Jeannie's getting scolded.
He's getting in trouble. Yeah, it was interesting. And like, so what is true? Because I'm like, I looked early on in this process, I looked at all these spaces and I'm like, are there rules about 30 people potentially? I mean, we weren't that big a group, but in my mind, I was like, are there rules about gathering? And it does say on the website, no ceremonies, but like,
it's really hidden though.
It is so hidden. Like you have to find it. And we were literally standing in a circle holding hands singing. I am. Like we were singing I am. And like I just was like, oh, in my mind, I think it was more about like you're not allowed to have an impromptu wedding at our venue without like paying us, basically. Like that to me is what that was about on the website. It was like, oh yeah, well duh. Like I could imagine people being like, oh, let's sneaky, not pay for a venue and like have people gather in the corner of these beautiful grounds and get sneaky married without going through like the appropriate channels. But no, it apparently means you can't. And there was somebody there that was like, oh yeah, like people will come into the place and they're like wiping blood on things and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, so like, this is why we can't have nice things because,
Yeah, I mean, it's my first thought when I heard what he was telling you was, this is really on the website, and if this is that important, it should be like on the front page or something, but it took a couple clicks. It was like scroll all the way to the bottom and it's like information, and then it was like it was buried. It was not like, for how often it seems like the guy was like this, how important no ceremonies at Glastonbury Abbey was. It really didn't make it easy to find, so they could do better.
Well, and I
Um,
purchased 20 tickets at once, right? Like they knew that we were coming in with a group, and they didn't mention anything to me either
right.
upon our So, but the other spots as well. So, who walked up to the tour? I did not walk up to the tour. Did any of you guys?
We tried,
We got to like
but
the bottom of the tour.
Okay.
yeah, I mean, there were two ways up to the tour. One was less steep, and we were about to go to the more steep. And then we realized, well, we could hustle, but it's really steep and high, or we could go see something else more leisurely and make sure we have time. So we got a good view of the tour. Not heartbroken that I didn't have to climb up what looked like 1,000 feet straight up, and we got to go to see a couple other things in Glastonbury. But there were some people that went and said it was very high and very, very windy.
Yeah, and it really kind of started raining, I think, in the afternoon. And so people were climbing up a very steep hill in the rain. If anybody knows Zara, they can ask her about her experience, because she had kind of a wacky experience going up to the tour. And then the other place that we recommended folks go was the Chalice Well. So did folks make it? Did you guys make it to the Chalice Well? I shopped and ate, so I didn't go to any of the other sites. I went the last time we were there.
Yeah, Jessica and I went in May, and I had just a grand time there. So that was like a high recommendation for me. If I was like, if you don't want to hike the tour, go check out the Chalice Well and be in your maiden and magic there. So I didn't go back this time. There was a little bit of me that was like, oh, I really want to go back there. Um, but I did some exploring outside, and I went to go get a palm reading, and just really enjoyed myself walking around, talking with random people and checking out the witches market. But I do know the stories that I've heard of people going up to the tour seems very unique. Everyone has had like some sort of mystical experience, like honestly, like fairies coming out of the woods, it felt like, and very much true. But Jeannie and Matt, you both visited the Chalice Well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, for someone who loves the stories of the Holy Grail and all that legend and myth, it was really cool to see a physical place associated with the stories. And the whole kind of where it is almost like a little garden. So to me, it reminded me of in Lord of the Rings, there's the Houses of Healing after one of the battles at the end, towards the end of the book. And it just reminded me of this, like, yeah, this garden to heal, basically. So I thought it was amazing. Honey, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, the Chalice Well just felt like I felt like cleansing. It was very, very peaceful. The flowers in that garden were like just insane. It was so nice to just sit and be in the different, like, benched areas, around the well itself, and then around this other part where you could like take off your shoes and socks and put your feet in. But I actually equally loved that around the corner from the well, so kind of as we were coming down from looking at the tour, we came across something called the White Spring. I think it was called the White Spring. And, it was so cool because, you're not allowed to take any pictures. You have to like put your phones away, and there are all these little altars everywhere, and clouties, which are like little pieces of fabric that are tied up. Like usually you put like wishes and prayers in them, and then you tie them. So you'll see them around like Bridget's Well in Ireland as well. And so there were clouties everywhere, and there's this giant pool inside where people were like getting in, their whole bodies getting in, which I did not do, but I would put my hands in, and like that it's supposed to be this like very healing waters, healing spring, and little chalices everywhere where you could write things down on a piece of paper that were set up for you. And, you know, like no admission fee to this. Like it just was very organically kind of happening. And it looked like there were volunteers that were there, kind of just making sure people are obeying rules around not taking photos and stuff like that. But it was so good. So good.
Yeah, it was one of those weird, delightful things that you had no idea existed, but kind of just stumbled upon. I mean, we often think of like any time we travel, we're walking around, usually like a big city or something. And you're like, oh, here's this random thing that I had no idea, wouldn't have ever looked for, and just happened upon it. And it's one of those just kind of cool travel moments.
Love that.
Yeah. Honey, this is where the ley lines you said earlier. Can you explain exactly what those are in a little bit more detail?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about like where they all are all over the planet.
There's tons of them.
They're just like, you know, when we think about in Kundalini or yoga, when we talk about the chakras and the nadis, the energy channels that are within the human body, it's similar to that on the earth. And so there are these energetic lines, and then when they cross each other, they create like a plexus or like a vortex of energy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like kind of like when there's a vortex of or a crossing of a bunch of energy channels in the body, that's where the chakras meet. Like they're in this plexus of nerves and energy channels. So it's kind of like that. It's like following the energy lines of the earth. And so in the UK, there are two ley lines that at one time they were called one thing. And then, you know, Christianity swept in and renamed them are they Michael and Mary?
Mary. Mm-hmm.
Lines. And so they represent like masculine energy, feminine energy, sacred, all of that. Prior to that, though, it was we found out when we were there, the sun line would be the masculine energy, solar energy, and the serpent. So we were on these sun and serpent lines while we were there, and these stone circles are all along these energetic lines. So, however, they happened, you know, to know this at the time that they were building things like Stonehenge and stone circles of Avebury, they correspond geographically with these energetic lines.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. The next excursion was to Tintagel in Cornwall, which was like 4 hours on a bus, almost on was it like the south or the west coast of England?
It was the northwest.
Northwest. Yeah.
And I think I asked how this was pronounced so many times because it wrapped my brain in such a weird way, but I think it's Tintagel.
I think you're right. Yeah, that sounds.
Tintagel, after like literally asking so many people and saying it
Over and over.
And I'm still not 100% sure, but yeah. And that was our farthest excursion to Tintagel and the ruins there of the castle and Merlin's Cave.
Yeah, Merlin's Cave was really, really cool. I mean, I say really cool because I didn't actually see the ruins of the castle because I don't know, wherever we took the path down, I think we just took the stairs straight down because we wanted to make sure we wanted to meet our whole group in the cave
before the tide. Yeah,
before the tide, right? Because we have to worry about the sea and the water because if it's high tide, we can't go in the cave or go as far in the cave.
Come up. Like we all there was a group of us that we went all the way through the cave, and like we were chanting, and then some people went and explored other things. There was shops in the town. We went through the cave, and I thought it was so magical, like just to envision all of that happening in that time and to just close your eyes and embody that. There was like a little perch that I climbed all the way up, and I don't know, like how many feet did you think it was? It felt like a lot of feet,
at least, maybe 20.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pretty high.
It was definitely up there, but it was like almost this along the way. So
Right. You didn't
it
have to actually vertically climb
right.
so much like a rock wall, but it was up there and it was pretty steep. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I love places like that where the myth connects to the nature in a way where it's like, oh, this could be the place where Merlin came to live out his days as a hermit, or this is where in one story Merlin found the baby King Arthur washed up in a basket or something. And then like, who cares
Or
if
like,
it's
is it
actually true?
here?
But like, you're just in right. It's in this like magic place where the myth was either created or like is connected to the land. So it was really cool. Yeah, being able to go through Merlin's cave and like out the other side, like because kind of where the other part of the ocean was, that was really really cool. I'm glad I took my boots off and decided to just screw it and just walk through the water and go. I realized once I got home, if I didn't go through, I'd be disappointed in myself. So I'm really
Yeah.
glad I did. Yeah, and a lot of our participants went through and just spent time either chanting or meditating or just sitting in the water.
Swimming.
So I think
Swimming.
they all found it really moving.
Yeah, and that was another one of those divine timing things. Go figure, you can't actually look at tide schedules more than like 10 days out. Like you can sometimes find like a guesstimation or maybe a month of like these could be, but so we were not 100% sure that the tides were going to match up with our timing for our coach. And as it was, we had a couple of really, really early days. So I didn't want to push our coach any earlier. And it was a long trip. It was a 4 hour ish coach ride. So it was so perfect. It was so perfect.
Jeannie, do you remember singing Earth My Body in there at the end of the
Oh
cave?
yeah, I had forgotten about that.
It was so beautiful.
It was fantastic in the cave because the acoustics are,
Mhm.
you know, it, and it just was like that was the vision, right? It was being in the cave and singing, and you know, the fact that like that's kind of what sparked the whole thing. And then like I think 3 months out we were talking and Jessica was like, "Ooh, I don't know if we're going in the cave." And I was like,
We're going in the cave.
"Okay." Yeah, so I was looking at tide schedules and then I was trying to do like math I invented in my head to try to anticipate what the tide schedule would be when we were there. And I was like, I think it's going to be fine. You know, having really not a whole lot of information about like, what is it? I mean, what does high tide look like? Can we really not get there? Like, do they, I was definitely having those thoughts as well. And, but it worked. I mean, we got there and it was like perfect timing, actually.
It really was. It was.
It was low tide.
And the timing at all of the locations, the amount of time that we had, I think was really, really great. It left enough time to be able to explore, to eat, to be magical. And then it's like, okay, we're ready now. Let's go back. Let's go on our next adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really great. It felt like this retreat had more of the like excursions than, I mean, we had one retreat in Costa Rica years ago that had a ton of excursions.
Mhm.
But that was still different because, I mean, it was different for a lot of reasons. But not everybody was going to the same place. It was kind of like a choose your own adventure setup. So some people went ziplining and some people went to a park and some people went, you know, this was like, we did some serious historical sightseeing with a pretty substantial size group of people. And,
Yeah.
you know, that could lend itself to a little bit of like herding bees or feeling, or cats, or feeling like, you know, people are going rogue. And even with like any snafu that there was, it was just so minor. It, like in the grand scheme of moving that many human beings all across England, and
I'm just thinking
and
about the huge bus that we had in the small streets. And I'm like, thank goodness we don't have to navigate this. Like, Jessica, you do a great job finding the right crew to kind of do those outside things that we don't have to sweat about. And
Yeah,
so
I
I'm
was
like,
thinking
they know what they're doing.
about the Costa Rica trip, and I was like, we had a trip with a lot of excursions, and yes, you're right, right? Like I was snorkeling. I think you guys were at a park. Somebody went
Mhm.
ziplining, but that one too, the retreat center organized all of it, right? Like
Right.
they were like, this
Mhm.
is your menu, you pick it, and then they did all the logistical pieces. So this was the first time that we've had a like significant number of off-site days where the retreat center didn't have anything to do with planning or executing that. So yeah,
Mhm.
yep.
Yeah, as far as like running, this brought me right back to my chaperoning days, teaching high school and chaperoning field trips, which is good to know because it's one of those illusions. We're like, well, I'm going with adults, so I won't run into the same problems you would with a group of teenagers. Yeah, you would. In fact, maybe more. So teenagers sometimes are a little bit more well behaved. It's pretty funny, but
Well,
as far as
they're a little more scared that they're gonna get in trouble.
right. Well, I mean, that's funny. I was thinking about bringing kids from Vermont to New York City. You would think, oh my God, teenagers. But like some of them had never been outside of the state. So like they're so like, yeah, they were kind of scared and wide eyed and like, Mr. O'Neill, please don't leave me. I don't know where I am. This is terrifying. And adults don't have that as much. So there was a little bit. But I will say that any like snafu, which I don't think I had to solve any, watching you guys solve any of them, seemed minor. So, I mean, you made it look easy, is I guess what I'm saying. So, everyone was appreciative of that. My only regret about Cornwall is I did not get a Cornish pasty. It's my
Oh,
only regret because I did watch a video on Cornwall before we went and they looked amazing. It's
they're
like
so
some sort of
good.
like pastry, yeah, like a pot pie almost, but in a pastry instead of like
First
a
thing I got when
pie
I
crust.
got there, I was like, Jessica's going to get the tickets. There is a pastry shop right here. And it was so quick. Just went in. I wish I had one right now.
I know they're so yummy. They're really yummy.
Yeah, they're really
I
good.
was like, we're going to
Um,
need to eat this pastry before we walk down to Merlin's Cave.
which was it was a hike. That was, I mean, there was a shuttle, but it did about a third of the work, and there was still lots of stairs to go from where, like, down the cliff into the cave.
Yeah.
So I was a little nervous that some of our participants looking at the stairs. I'm like, oh my god,
They
Well,
all
and
they
is everyone
all
going
did
to make
it.
it?
And
Sabrina and
so
I
who knows?
went.
I'll never see this. I might not ever see this again. And I'm
Yep.
so grateful that I had that experience and that we were able to, maneuver that everyone could have that experience.
Yeah, we
Mhm.
went in May to check it out because I was like, what is this situation? And I'm not a like hiker, stair
Mhm.
climber. And I definitely was like, okay, like it's doable. Like you got to take it slow if you're not in like superb
Mhm.
shape. But yeah, every single one of the students did it. And I think, yeah, it was really great. It was really
Yeah,
great.
Mhm.
it was.
Bucket list.
Lastly, oh, sorry, Sabrina, were you gonna say something else?
I just said bucket list checked off.
Oh, speaking of bucket list checked off, the last place we went to, the last excursion, Stonehenge at sunrise on the equinox. I mean, we're talking about bucket list. This is a bucket list item that I didn't know I had until I was there, and especially the way you guys are able to pull this off because knowing a little about when you're going to go see Stonehenge before we went, you can only get so close, right? You can't
Mhm.
actually go in the circle on a normal day. But because we were there with the company that we went with on the day we went with, we could be there before dawn to witness the Druid ceremony at inside the circle, which was by far the most mind blowing for me part of that whole trip. It was fantastic.
I loved when like telling people about this trip ahead of time. People are funny, right? And how many times I heard like, well, you can't go in the stones. So you're just looking at them from far away. Like you can't go in the stones. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure we're going in the stones. Like, why are you saying this? Why do you keep saying this? Like,
Well, because it's true, right? Because you can't go in the stones.
no, you can't go in the stones until you can. And just that
Very
felt like
small window.
so special and so magical and so much like just all of us weirdos doing our thing and the stones at sunrise like it was just like this awareness of people used to take this journey by carriage and wagon and horse and whatever to get there and like gather with a group of people that they don't see all the time or maybe don't even know and have this celebration on these days. And like that just felt so cool. Like that link to how many generations of human beings have made the pilgrimage to this site on this day to do this thing. So it felt very like liminal, felt like liminal space once you walked in the stones. And like you could maybe even see through the fabric of time a little bit. And it was just so cool. So cool.
Yeah,
Well,
and
even to get
didn't even realize, like, students that were on the trip didn't even quite realize like what was happening or what was going to happen, which for me was really fun. Like, I love a little surprise element to things, and so yeah, they're just like, wait,
Well,
wait,
it's such an
what?
indicator too, right? Like they trust us so much. Like they're like, yes, we're going, we're going
At
on
4:15 a.m. in the morning.
we're getting on a bus.
Yeah, bus.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, one of the more craziest parts of that when we get to the visitor center, right? You could get a shuttle that was going to bring you the mile or so to the stones, but we walked and just like it, in the pitch black, you're walking and it was a very clear morning, I guess. You're walking on this road that's flanked on woods on both sides. You're just looking up and seeing the stars. And it just brought me, and especially when we got to the actual gate to walk up to Stonehenge, people were already there, blowing horns, playing drums, doing some types of already chanting. It just felt so like primal. Like, honey, what you're saying about like how many people have made this trip, made this journey for this on this kind of day. And I think every part of it, even the walk there, and then finally seeing the stones, and then hearing all the sounds people were already making, it was just never would have I thought to have that kind of moment at Stonehenge. Like I never would have expected just the walk up to it to be so moving as it was, but it was crazy.
I glided. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. Like Matt said, the forest was like the trees were surrounding us, the stars were in the sky, and one of our retreat friends, Madigan, we just started like walking alongside of each other, and it just got to a point where it felt like we were just gliding, and I felt like I was moving so fast, and I don't know how my legs were doing it. But there was a moment where we just kind of like looked at each other, and it was this recognition that we were both having the same experience. And as soon as we got up to everyone at the gates opened, and it's like, okay, onward, here we go.
It was
And
great timing.
yeah, it was such great timing. Yeah, I'll never forget that. It just felt like I was gliding right into that moment.
I thought
All
of
in time.
it made me think of like in old fairy tales or stories how the monsters are living in the woods, and it made me realize why. Because like when there's no lights, maybe if you have a fire or a torch or something, the woods are very, very, very dark. And any animal that is an animal making a sound in there could be like something is scary is in there. So it just brought me to like how humans create stories in relation to their environment. Where like, yeah, the monsters are in the woods, and you're like, yeah, why? Because you can't see if you're 5 feet in the woods.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had that thought. And then for another moment, just like when you could finally see the stone circle up ahead, we're like, that's it. Like you can see it, and it's just very small. So it's like finally seeing it, and then being able to get inside. Inside was nuts. It was just that was insane. Like it was crowded, but not so crowded I felt like claustrophobic. I've been in like, oh god, like the Women's March in DC.
Yeah, that was awful.
That was a level of claustrophobia. Even I don't get claustrophobic. I felt claustrophobic then. This was not that bad, but there were a lot of people there, and it helped that like everyone is kind of like mind and spirit, right? When they're going to a place like this at that kind of time of year and time of day. So it did help raise like the vibration or the vibes of the place. It was definitely a celebration, which was very cool to be a part of.
Yeah. And Matt, you didn't mention, I mean, because we didn't take a bus, but folks did walk. The farm itself that we stayed at was located about a mile from the town of Avebury, which has actually the largest stone circle. It's kind of a
Mhm.
more of a spreading in the entire
Right.
world, I
It's
think.
mm,
And so there was an afternoon that the group walked over to that space as well. So we were off site 4 days, like of the 6 night retreat. It was
yeah,
Mhm.
which
it was busy.
felt yeah like good busy because it's like we're there and almost it's a yoga immersion retreat, so you want to make sure you do the practices and the workshops, but also like you're in England, so you want to see as much as you can. I thought you guys struck a wonderful balance between making sure that people got their bang for the buck as far as the yoga and workshop and the sightseeing. So I think it was great.
And
But yeah, I mean, there were some early and long days, but I think everyone
there was
rolled with
time
it
for
and it was
integration.
great.
Yeah,
What'd
there
you
was
say,
time.
Sabrina?
There was time for integration.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like we would get back from this pilgrimage or this journey, and then it's like, okay, let's pause and integrate everyone, whatever they wanted to do, and then there was, dinner or lunch after, or whatever it may be. I think that all of that really fell together beautifully. The
Can we
amount of
give a shout out to Jade, our caterer, because damn, that girl can cook. I'm like,
I was
Yeah.
thinking about the pot pies. I was just thinking about the pot pies.
yeah, it was a vegetarian retreat in the sense that our caterer was vegetarian, but the working farm did provide us with breakfast. So we had animal proteins at breakfast time, and then vegetarian lunches and dinners when we were on site. And she was phenomenal. She was phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was all delicious too. I don't think I ate anything where I was like, "Ugh, this is
Mhm.
gross." It was all amazing.
Yep.
Um,
And
any
so,
last thoughts on England before we briefly touch on some upcoming places we're going in 2026?
I think we
It's
covered it.
magical.
We did, yeah.
Really
So,
magic.
looking forward to 2026, we got a couple places we're going to. Jess, do you want to talk a little bit about the places where we're going?
Yeah, we've got a nice schedule of retreats in 2026. So, starting in February, we're going to be in Costa Rica. That retreat is sold out, but there is a wait list. That is at the Imaloa campus of Verdasana in the mountains of Costa Rica. That's a Way of Water Qigong retreat. Then the end of March, beginning of April, we have our Joy and Rebellion retreat in Tulum, Mexico. That one still has spots in it. There's plenty of single rooms. There might be one double left. There's definitely lots of single rooms. And you can bring a friend if you don't mind sharing a king bed in that retreat. Y'all, I'm excited. Like, it is right on the beach. It is like bougie. You get a massage with your booking, like just off the bat. Like, we're gonna do a yellow clay ritual on the sand. We are going to have an option of excursions there. Really, really fancy fun time. The food is also excellent there. Jeannie and I, when we did our scouting
Oh my
after
God.
after Guatemala, we went and had lunch at the restaurant, and very, very
It
good.
was stupid how good that food was. Like, I was like, why? Like,
It was, you
I
got
didn't even,
shrimp, right? And you were like, "Why are these literally the best shrimp I've ever eaten in my
it
entire
was
life?"
just like a salad with shrimp on it. And I just was like, I was not overly hungry. It was not like I was like so starving that anything is going to taste amazing. And it just was silly. Like, I'm like, how is this salad with shrimp on it the best thing I've eaten in like the last 2 weeks? Like, I just felt like it was
Yeah,
so freaking good. Yeah, the food there, they know what they're doing. They have a full kitchen. Like,
yeah,
this is, and I couldn't really tell when we were there if that part of the property you're allowed to just kind of come and eat food if you're not staying there. It felt kind of like a restaurant,
yep,
but then it also felt kind of like they were like, "Why are you here?" And we're like, "We're touring the property, blah blah blah."
yeah,
So, but yeah, I mean, very high quality restaurant food.
Yeah, because that property. So we're staying in what's called the Chica Resort of the Amansala group, and then the Amansala Resort is like a property over, and so you have access to like the beachfront and the pools at both places, and but our group will be in its own full resort structure. While we're there. So that's an amazing trip and highly recommend signing up for that if you want to get away from the northeastern or northern weather at the end of March, which is kind of the worst time because it's still not warm and you've suffered through months of cold and now it's gray and muddy. And then we have Kripalu, which I don't think it's on their website yet, in August of 2026. So we'll be there for a retreat. And then in September, we will be back in Europe, in Ireland. This retreat is selling pretty fast. So this is the first time that we're doing kind of a retreat with an add-on. The main retreat itself is 5 nights. We'll be in southeastern Ireland, staying at a lovely resort retreat center and kind of bopping around in that area. We're going to try and do a kayak trip while we're there, either to this abbey or within these coves. We'll visit, how do you say it in Gaelic, Jeannie? Brow on Bon, do you know?
Bruna Bran?
Brunabran?
I think so.
Yeah, Brunabran. Yeah.
The burial mound?
The cairns and the burial mounds.
Is it Boyne? It might be Boyne.
No, Boyne's the other one. Boyne's the northern one.
Oh, okay.
This is the main one. The one you think of when you think of burial mounds in Ireland. And then you can opt to add on, so that's a 5-night stay. You can opt to add on 3 more nights where we'll transport the group across the country to the West Coast near the Cliffs of Moher to the Burren and have 3 nights there at the Burren Retreat Center. So for that one, there are still 9 to 10 spots for the 5-night retreat and only 2 spots for the full 8 nights. And those are shared accommodations. So if you have a friend and you want to do a full 8 nights, there's 2 more spots. Or if you just want to come alone, we'll match you with someone perfect. And lastly, which was not yet.
I also feel like we're really good at putting people with the right roommate.
We do a good job at that.
It always seems to happen.
I think that is a hidden talent that we have.
I think so.
One of our magical leanings.
So we can
yeah, the last retreat that we're planning right now, who knows what else might pop up, but I love that face, is next year's witch camp, and that will be West Coast. So hopefully we'll be doing some scouting in the next 2 to 3 months of some centers out that way, and then that will be on the website as soon as we know. And yeah, West Coast witch camp will be likely around Samhain. Yeah, that's the plan.
That's the plan.
Awesome. So
come
yeah,
on with us.
hats off to you guys for running a dynamite retreat in England, and I am looking forward to hearing all about and seeing some of these places we're going in 2026. Awesome. Thanks, guys. So for the YFI Pod UK Retreat Edition, this is Matt.
This is Jeannie.
Jessica.
This is Sabrina.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.